Hey, it's Phil from Tips for a Better Life, and I got a question from Francesco, and he's asking me the question, how can you defend your boundaries calmly and confidently? I can relate to his question because a lot of times when we have a discussion or when we want to talk about boundaries, we're in the emotion of the moment, we're really hyped up, we're angry, we're frustrated, and then we don't know how to communicate well, and instead of resolving the conflict, we only heighten the conflict and put more oil on the fire. So the question is, how are you able to communicate your desires and your boundaries genuinely and efficiently? An important tool I learned, and first of all I want to say, expressing your emotions in the heat of the moment is really difficult. Because when you're like in the expression, it's really hard to take the other person's feelings into account. You're so much into your own feeling and emotion. If there's too much energy in your body, if you feel like anger or rage or feel too much frustration, I would first step away from the situation, because you won't have a genuine heart-to-heart talk and be able to talk confidently and calmly, because you won't be able to relax and sit down. So an important tool for that, and I'm going to follow a year education about it at the end of the year, it's called the Nonviolent Communication Tool by Marshall Rosenberg. And nonviolent communication is a way of relating to the other person. So a lot of communication when we have a conflict has to do with blaming the other person for how you feel. So instead of saying, I feel that this certain situation made me feel like this, so I ask you to do this, it doesn't go that way. It doesn't start with first saying I, and then describing an objective situation, and then describing how you felt, and then making a polite request on how you would like the situation to change. No, it's like you always, and then this, and you blame the other person for how you feel. So immediately the other person gets reactive and it's like, no, you do this and you make me feel this way. So there's no bridge. There's no way of trying to, do I understand you correctly? Or if I understand you correctly, you are trying to say that. No, you immediately have your conclusion ready. You're not listening to what the other person has to say or his needs or the place where he was coming from. So if you want to put up boundaries, you have to figure out what your underlying emotion and your underlying need is. Mostly it goes into that sequence. First you have something, it's tied into an emotion, and that emotion is being expressed or felt because of an underlying need. So first figure out what you are feeling. If you would like to have your needs met and your emotions listened to, first express that emotion and express that need, and take responsibility for your own feeling and emotion. So you don't say, you made me angry because you always do this. No, you first describe an objective situation, like this happened. Then you say, I felt. Then you add what happened objectively because of this. And then you make a request of what you would like the other person to do. But it's purely because how you felt, and you take responsibility for your feelings. That has to do with your part. If you want to listen to another person, you have to try to understand the viewpoint of the other person. So you try to get in touch with what the other person A was feeling, and B what the underlying need was. And that way the person feels understood, that person feels listened to. Because if you blame the other person for how you feel, there's no way of the other person like, oh, okay, this is how you were feeling, so now I can build a bridge of understanding and get your viewpoint, so now I understand how you see the situation. No, you immediately have your conclusion ready, and there's no way of mutual understanding. So if you want to be able to put boundaries and create a bridge of understanding, you have to see what your feelings were and what your underlying needs are, if you like to solve that. And when you're listening, you try to understand the other person's feelings, the other person's needs, and the request the other person is making. So it has to do with taking each other's viewpoints and being open to listen. Instead of just responding, you listen with the intent to listen, not with the intent to reply. And then you can connect the needs, and then you can resolve the conflict, because there's a heart-to-heart communication going on there. It's a communication between needs and between emotions, not between blaming each other. You start appreciating or understanding. It's not about reacting, it's more about reflecting. And then you can understand each other's viewpoints and get closer, because you feel there's like an opening. And then you get closer. So first, if you feel too much enraged and feel too pissed and angry, I would step back from the situation, rewind a little, because you're too much in the emotion. And then when you really want to resolve the conflict, I would see what your needs and your emotions are, what the objective situation was, because a lot of things have to do with how we label a situation and how we interpret a situation and what we associate a situation with. So first, talk about that objective situation that happened. Look at your own feelings and own needs. Listen to the other person's feelings and own needs. And then you can understand where you both are coming from. And then you can communicate calmly and confidently, and then you can really communicate to solve a problem instead of like heightening the problem. I hope this helps. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll speak to you soon.